everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our first MS Views and News program to this portion of Maryland. We were here last year. We did a very small program in Glenard and over by Copper Canyon, I believe. And anyway, it was a small program. We had about 20 people there, and that's all it was designed to be for. So, anyway, for those that don't know, my name is Stuart Schlossman, and guess what? I'm a peer to those with MS, because I too have MS, right? Thank you. Yes, I remember that too. So again, my name is Stuart Schlossman. I have multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed back in '98, all right? And, you know, after a few years of seeing what people are not getting as far as educational programs, we decided that we're going to form this organization and provide this. We're now providing these programs in 22 states. Okay, and last year we did 53 programs, and this year we're set to do 53 programs as well. So, in order to thank the company that's responsible for giving us the funding to do tonight's program, I want to thank Teva Neuroscience, and I hope you all can thank them as well. Say thank you, Teva. Today's program, we're going to have Jeff Segal, who is a personal trainer, and he will be here to discussing benefits of healthy living and exercise and how this can benefit you with spasticity and other things. But first, whenever we go to a new area, we ask support group leaders to come up and speak for 90 seconds about their group. So right now we have Dulci Hill. Okay, she'll introduce herself, and she's going to tell us about her group.
If you have MS, you should write down this website, msfrontiers.org. MS Frontiers is a peer support organization for people with multiple sclerosis, by people with multiple sclerosis. Who better to assist people with MS than people who have MS and have had the same symptoms, fears, and treatments and frustrations? We share diets we've tried, supplements we use, exercises that help, emotional support when we feel misunderstood. MS Frontier Support Group started as a private Facebook group that was created to gather curious people together to analyze and discuss the meaning of the latest studies and research. Over the years, MS Frontiers has evolved into a multiple sclerosis medical support group. This made it possible for each member to recruit the collective members of the group to be part of their MS management team. Each person who joins becomes an important member who may have questions about a symptom, a test, a medication, a side effect, or a treatment option. Or that person who joins can offer to answer questions to other people who have questions based on their own experience. Our medical support groups have approximately 2,500 members with MS, each with an average experience of 10 years. That is 25,000 years of experience with multiple sclerosis. It is it's critical to note that this information that you get there, or the suggestions you get, is based on what has worked with people through their own experiences, but should never take the place of your doctor. The suggestions are there for you to discuss with your doctor and evaluate. So again, write down the website, msfrontiers.org. I have a couple cards for people who can't manage to write it down, and thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Dulci. That's great. Jeff, you want to get started? This Jeff.
I got a big opening act here, and I got to keep you guys into it, and it's about exercise and wellness. And the other thing that we really all have in common is we're someone that's with us, or we have some kind of illness, right? Can you raise your hand if you have an illness of some sort, or if you're with somebody who has an illness? All right, so we're all in here for the same reason, right? We're on the same page? Okay, so illness, if you take away the I and you add a we, it becomes wellness. And that's basically what I'm here to talk about, is wellness. That's my background, is exercise science and exercise physiology, with some nutrition background. But I really want to talk about exercise and how it can help you on a daily basis, and for the duration of the time we spend on this earth together. We've moved as children. We're here to move, and I'm going to show you some great stuff. And you guys, I hope, really enjoy it, because I love what I do, and I've had some good feedback and some good responses. So how many people in here exercise? Okay, so there's like 3 or 4 people in here that don't, and there's about 5 or 6 people here that raised their hand because I did, and then there's, I don't know how many other people here even heard what I said, but the important thing is to move more than you do, because the human body responds to what you do, and then you're able to do more, and if you don't do more, then you're not going to want to do more, and you're not going to be able to do more. It's interesting because it's specific adaptations to imposed demands is how the body responds to exercise. And as children, how many of you guys played? Everybody here, hopefully. If you didn't, it's not too late. If you don't play today, you probably call it something else, and if you don't, then you probably wish you did. And there wasn't a day that you woke up and looked at yourself in the mirror and said, hey, I'm too old to have fun. Doesn't work that way, does it? I want to bring fun back into your life. What's the biggest reason why you don't participate in something or another? If I had to ask somebody, I want someone to raise their hand and give me a reason why you might not participate. So, okay. You can't do it?
Physically. Can't play softball.
Okay, but you can play something else, right?
I swim a half a mile.
Okay, that's phenomenal. So you're a participant. You're not just a spectator, you're a participant. What's a reason why most people have as an excuse for not participating? Not enough time. Okay, I'm going to break something down for you. There's 1,440 minutes in a day. Okay, that's fact. In a 2013 Gallup poll they conducted, the average American sleeps 6.8 hours a night. So you take that away, what do you do the rest of the day? If you work, say, 8 or 9 hours, maybe you don't work. There's still a lot of time left. What do you do with that time? If you can find an hour, I break it down all the time. I talk to my clients constantly about how much time there is in a day. There's so much extra time. If you don't think there's extra time, unplug your television. Unplug your computer, turn your phone off. See how much time you're trying to figure out, oh, now what am I going to do? Move. If it's a time that you don't move as well or that you're tired, because how many people here have fatigue? How many people in here aren't quite sure if it's from MS or not? How many people in here don't have MS and get tired? Okay, how many people in here are human? And don't do as much as you did when you were a kid, when your parents were yelling for you to come inside and it was time to eat dinner, and they would probably grab you by the ear if they could, catch you, because you were running around so much. So you do less, and then what happens is some people have problems with weight, whether they're overweight or underweight, and what do you blame it on? Your age. No, it doesn't have to do with your age. It has to do with how much activities you do, and how active you are, and the foods that you eat, and how often you eat, and a lot goes into it. It doesn't have to correlate with your age, especially your weight, because humans are the only species that increase in weight with age, because animals that gain weight with age become food, right? In the animal kingdom, the food are the ones that are slow, and they become eaten by other animals. And what happens is you lose weight as you age because your muscle mass decreases over your lifespan. So if you're active and you keep moving and you're losing muscle mass, your fat's just there as extra energy, not because McDonald's is across the street. McDonald's is okay because it helps our economy, right? But it doesn't mean you have to have McDonald's all the time. And you talked about time. How many people sit behind a computer for more than an hour at a time? Okay. Well, there's a few things I can tell you. You probably got tight hip flexors, and you're probably dehydrated. Because if you were drinking enough water, you'd have to use the restroom. And if you're sitting that long, that's what happens. When you see somebody who is a healthy individual and they're at the grocery store, you ever see someone at the grocery store that, someone in their 50s, 60s, walking, that's shuffling a little bit? and doing this with a bad back, like most Americans end up with a bad back at some point or another, that don't have to. Well, that shuffle is not, if they're a healthy individual, that's the key. It's usually because they got tight hip flexors from sitting most of their lives, which is like a contracture. If you sit, or if you have your arm in this way for a year and you try to lift it out, it's not going to work because your tendons shorten. So that's what movement and range of motion is so important for. If you're sitting all day and your hip flexors tighten, then you're here. Now you look like the person at the grocery store, right? So if you take a step and this is too tight, you can only take a step about this far because hip flexors are tight. So another thing is there's spasticity that occurs with your hip flexors. And if your hip flexors are spastic and they're shorter than they should be, then we're talking about pain, discomfort, lower back problems, you name it. Your doctor would much rather talk to you about MS than things that are preventable. And you will get much more time out of your doctor talking about MS and more quality time when you're there to talk about MS. So the more active you are and the more you participate in life, there's a great chance that you're going to have less comorbidities. And comorbidities are the things that come from being inactive, eating the wrong foods, eating too much of them, and just not taking care of yourself. Some of them you can't control, but the ones that you can control are the ones that I hope when you go to the doctor aren't the things that you're talking about instead of MS or how it's going to affect your MS. You want to go right for the MS, right? You want to take care of your MS and make sure that that's what your doctor's appointment's for. So what I do is I usually give these away. In fact, I'm going to give this to somebody in the room. I haven't figured out who yet. But it's a timer because I like to give it to people who sit by a computer and talk about what they're going to do in 20 minutes, and then it becomes 30 minutes, then it becomes tomorrow, and becomes next week, next month, next year. It goes on a long time. So I say don't sit for more than 30 minutes. If you're too tired to get up in 30 minutes, just to get up and stand, even if you prop yourself up or just stretch your arms or do something, just move around, set this. If you have heart problems, let it go off first. This is what it sounds like. Okay, I wouldn't want anyone having a heart attack because this went off. But I'm going to set it for 15 minutes. And what I'd like for you guys to do, if you want, is when you hear this go off, just do some movement. I'm going to put it down, but it's a really good idea. It's old-fashioned. Your phones have it too. But if you have that, you can sit it in front of you. You can see it. And if it's not in front of you, that means you got up and went somewhere, and I'm OK with that too. So some of the things I like to do is I like to work outside the box. You know, I'm not big into the big gym equipment that I grew up using. When I was 100 pounds heavier and a big muscle guy, because what happened, I was active, but those big weight machines were to put muscle on me. They didn't have anything to do with function, because if you got your back against something and you're pushing something, you're not working your core. You're just basically really strong so that you can be really strong in the gym. And it's all about how you are outside of the gym. So if you do stuff with your feet on the ground or you're seated without leaning up against something, you're working your core. You got from the feet and the ground basis support up. You're a functional human being. I would like starting with stuff like a medicine ball. Who wants to come up here and you know, help out a little bit, have a little fun? Come on, I want somebody that's, how about you? All right. So first, feel this. That's a 3-pound medicine ball. A few things about it is it's 3 pounds, it's a medicine ball, but if you drop it and it lands on your foot, it's not going to be as bad as if you drop a weight on your foot.
I won't feel it anyway.
What?
I won't feel it anyway.
You might feel it, maybe it wouldn't be in your foot where you felt it. So what I want you to do is just throw it. And if you don't catch it, see, what you're doing is you're working your core, because if not, she'd fall the way in the direction the ball was coming. Okay, now, do you ever get frustrated or mad about anything? If you say no, then we need to talk, because I want to figure out what you're doing.
I meditate.
You meditate. Okay, so take this with both hands and throw it at the ground really hard. I gotcha. Throw it hard. How'd that feel?
Good.
Okay, now, the way she went down and picked it up, pretty good. One of the things that I like to teach is when you pick something up off the ground, do it like a 2-year-old would. 2-year-old will teach you the best form of a squat or a deadlift there is. If it's too heavy, they'll do a deadlift, like a Romanian deadlift. But what I'll show you is, if your shoulders don't cross your feet, back safe. So you see, that wasn't a squat. I could have done it in a squat where it's here, and I'm coming straight up. But your shoulders cross your toes, back's out. You don't want that to happen. Here, throw it at the ground again. So if you have to step forward to grab it, I'm not going to let you fall. Okay. Step forward. Now, straight down, stick your butt out. There you go. Perfect. She's working her back, her glutes, strongest muscles you got right here. You keep these strong, you got a good core, you're stable. That was fun. You hear what she said? That summed everything up that I wanted you guys to hear. She said it was fun and I didn't have to ask her. You stole my show. Sorry. So thank you so much. I may have you come up again in a little bit, but for now. All right, thank you. It's not easy having MS. I've had it since 1998 myself. And I also want to say, goodbye and rest in peace to Jerry Lewis, who we lost this past week, who at some point or another, we may have all been called one of Jerry's kids because people don't know the difference between MD and MS, but it's the way it goes. We have MS. It doesn't have to have us. It doesn't have to define who we are. It doesn't, I mean, we're here. We're all together for the same reason. It's great that we're here. Unfortunately, the people who didn't come are missing out, and they're the ones who need it even more because they didn't come. But what are some things you guys like to do exercise-wise other than aquatics, because I can't take you all out to the pool right now? I'd like to, but give me TheraBands. Oh, okay, so I got something similar to a TheraBand. You guys are stealing my show. I need another volunteer, somebody who can hold this and has pretty good stability, unless they want to do it from a seated position. Then you can do it from a seated position. So what I'm going to have you do is have you hold this band. I love these bands for one of the best things I like about these is you can close them in a door, and they've got two-way, they come out from both directions. And all you need is a door that closes to hold on to it. But she's going to hold on to it like that. So I'm going to do some minor demonstrations. And what she's going to get out of it is going to be probably a little bit more than what I'm getting out of what I'm doing. And I'll tell you why in a second. Bench press. You can hold it with both hands if you want. When you do a bench press and your back is against the ground, I feel strong about doing stuff on the horizontal plane because that's how we move most of the time. Vertical movements are great because we need to be vertical to get up out of a chair, but once we're out of a chair or once we're going anywhere, we're horizontal. So this is a horizontal motion. This is what a bench press would be if I was on a bench. You got that okay? Kind of tight, kind of hard? Where do you feel it? Where do you feel it the most?
Oh, that's core.
Okay, so she's getting a core workout by holding it. But I was showing you guys two things. That in order for her to hold it there, her body is rotating outside the presence of rotation. She's using her rotational muscles to hold that. And by me pressing it, I'm doing a bench press. I'm working everything that's facing the direction in which I was pushing it. Unlike if you're on your back doing a bench press, this is the same thing as if you're doing a push-up. Push-ups are phenomenal. A push-up does not have to be done on the ground with your feet. It'd be great to, but it's not the way it has to be done. You can progress. If I had a stability ball here, I'd show you a better progression than coming from your knees. Or you can do it up against a wall or against a chair. I'll show you some other things. A row. You can face me so that way you're not going to get a muscle imbalance and just work your obliques, your internal obliques on your left side. Now what she's going to do is the same thing I'm going to do in a way. Just hold on for your life. Or we're both going, right? A row at a gym with your chest against something versus a seated row without your chest against something or your back supported is this. And if you're seated like she is, she's working the same muscles I am, she's just doing them statically. And she's working her lower back that's preventing her from falling forward. So you might or might not feel your lower back working right now, but if it wasn't, I guarantee you'd fall right forward. You'd fall straight forward. That's something that you can do with these bands. And so I've showed both ways. The other thing would be a rotational movement that would be this way, or even just walking in place against something like this. I'm working my rotational muscles because if I wasn't, I would come back like this. Take this, I want you to throw it at the ground just because it felt good, right? I know you've done that plenty of times, right? Stuff like throwing these things, but can you catch well?
With my glasses.
Yeah, don't catch with your glasses, catch with your hands.
Okay.
There you go. So that's basically what we were doing before, and if I did it a little bit to the side, there you go. You're doing well. Okay, so this is soft, right? You can attest to that. If you dropped it, it might hurt your feelings, right? But it wouldn't hurt you. What are some other things people like to do? She picked out the bands and the TheraBand. These work as TheraBands. Also, this is like a TheraBand too, sort of. It's just not one, it's connected. I'm going to do a quick check of something. I'm going to help you up just to get a quick stand. I want to see something. Okay, now sit back down. Stand up. Okay, sit back down. So your left leg's a little more affected than your right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see how her left leg went in? Neurologically, that's why it's happening, because she's got a neurological friction somewhere. The message isn't going correctly fully from top to bottom, and for whatever reason, her external rotators of her left leg are preventing her from keeping her leg out. So it's not because her muscles aren't smart or aren't strong, it's just because the signal's not fully getting there. And it's a gift that I have to see when I see people walking and somebody has one leg that comes in a little bit when they walk. They usually have a hip issue or could even be a shoulder problem. But what do you do to fix it? I don't fix things. I just try to make enhance what you do. But something that would help a little bit in strengthening that muscle group, not a particular muscle, we'll put this around your knees. This is a heavy one, but so can you keep that up now? Hold my hand. Now stand up. So now what she's doing is she's using her external. Now sit back down and come back up. Okay, have a seat.
Oh.
So now doing something like that is going to help work her external rotators and her abductors. I used to have trouble remembering what the difference between adductors and abductors are. You guys know what they are, abductors and adductors, they're coming apart. Yeah, so adductors, that was the easy one, but abductors, I was taught a bad date, get away. So abduction is away from. So moving away from, and adduction is just simple adding together. So she was using her abductors to hold this apart. So some other things that you can do that are helpful for that are to get on the ground and do some, I'm going to show you what it looks like if you were on the ground and do these. Something like that, because you're externally rotating of the hip, or holding on to something, stepping out and in, out and in. This is the leg that's working. This is just going for the ride. You see, because if I was doing one leg with one leg balancing, it's the same thing. This is going for the ride, external rotation, pushing off. So if you have a band, did you guys hear that? Sorry to spoil your food, but oh, you're a participant. You're doing twice the job. Okay, you guys can have a seat, but I'm happy. You guys are moving, grooving. That's what life is all about. Really, if you had the choice, would you rather be a participant or a spectator? If you'd rather be a spectator, don't say it. I don't want to hear that. But I want people to get more out of life, because that's what we're here to do. We want to get the most that we can while we're here, and then teach the kids, other people how to have a good time. That's what life's all about, right? So I'm going to have you hold this for me again. Am I totally spoiling your dinner?
No, they forgot my soup anyway.
Oh. I say this was all planned. They'll bring your soup in a little bit. So doing this with a band, with a row, like I showed you before, a regular row, now that's an external rotation. Now I'm using this leg and this arm together, right shoulder, left hip, which there's a correlation between the two, to do what's called an archer. Does that look like I'm going to shoot an arrow? Now, if it was her internal rotators that were weaker and her leg was to come out, then I'd do the opposite. Internal rotation. And you can do that holding on to something and just do a pivot. And they're simple things. I'm making them look easy because it's what I do every day. There's so many other things you can do with the bands. You can do press downs, curls, basically everything that you can do in a gym. Except these are more functional because when your core is strong and you're moving and you're walking, someone bumps into you, you might fall down if you have a weak core. If your core is strong, you might not even remember that someone bumped into you, no matter how good your memory is. Because I have problems with my short-term memory, like a lot of people in here. How many people have short-term memory problems? And I have problems with my short-term memory. Okay. Thank you for coming up here. Static stretching is my last resort when it comes to the spasticity relief. Active movement. I mean, the more you move, the less spasticity you may have, and the more you're getting into full range of motion, you're not training your muscles to be short and tight. The shorter and tighter the muscles are, also hydration is key. So drink a lot of water. Like I was talking about before, about identifying people who are dehydrated, which I think most people tend to be dehydrated, partially to laziness, partially because there's so many options other than water to drink that you're not drinking a lot of water, or you just don't drink a lot. Same thing as not moving a lot. You don't get up and get a drink. Anybody know what this is? Furniture mover. Furniture mover. This is one of my favorites, especially when I get new furniture. That's fun, right? Everybody likes getting new furniture. There's a lot you can do with this. If you have problems with your hip flexors, but you still want to do some flexion of the knee and extension of the knee, just sliding it back and forth. Some people can't lift their leg up like this and step forward and back, so you'd slide it forward and back. There was a time when I couldn't walk and I resorted to crawling. There was 2 times in my life, really. Once I really didn't have a choice because I hadn't learned to walk yet. And the second time was when I was unable to walk because of MS and I had to relearn to walk. So the way I relearned to walk was on the ground because, I could just sit there or I can get on the ground and move around. And I did. I got on the ground and I crawled on all fours. That got my cadence back. It helped me get or keep a strong core. Later on, when I was working with people with MS, these things were great because if you have problems with your hip flexors and you want to move them, like what I was just showing you, moving your knee, these are knee flexors and extensors, but on the ground, even the slightest movement like this can be a little bit easier using something like this. If you can do 5 of them, great. Your goal is to do 6. And if you can't do 5 the next time, your goal is to try to do whatever you can do. The goal is really to continue to do. Because if you continue to do, you're going to be in better shape than wanting or wishing. You can't wish to do what you did yesterday because it's gone. We live in the now. And do you know when the best time to exercise is? No, right now. Right now. Because it's always right now. And that's the most important thing, because if you let right now pass you by, you missed out, especially if you had the ability to do it at that moment. Right now is always going to be the time that it's going to be the best to exercise. If you're tired, I understand. It's not the best, you plan around that. Put in your book to exercise 10 times in a day. The one time you're able to do it, you've succeeded. That's it. And if that exercise at that moment is just lifting your right arm with your left arm, it still counts. It's not dunking a basketball. It's not, it's not scoring a touchdown. It doesn't matter though. You're moving. So using these, I mean, these are great on the ground doing stuff because there's people in here that can do less and there's people in here that can do more, but everybody can do something. I like doing these, and I show a lot of people how, I mean, the easiest thing to do with these would be to hold your leg and move your leg forward and back with your arm. It's a passive movement because you're not doing it with that leg, but you're just maintaining range of motion and some flexibility. Difficult things are doing stuff like progressing into a balance. So if you can't stand on one leg and you're all wobbly but you want to put your other foot on the ground, doing something like this might be a good progression to eventually be able to do it on one leg. Or a single-legged squat. So a single-legged squat, where if you're walking, you're shifting your weight from one leg to the other, to the other. I like doing a progression with a single-legged squat, which is something like this, which can eventually become here to all the way back, and then you do it without that completely, and you do a single-legged squat. Do you have to do a single-legged squat? No, but if you can, you may as well. Because right now, if you can do it, you may as well do it right now. All right, I need one more participant. Can you turn this into a squirrel? No, wrong talk. That totally wasn't supposed to be what I was going to talk about today. Just catch this, but I don't want you leaning back. Here. Okay, you're working your core. Do you feel it?
Yes.
If you're not falling out of the chair, then you're working your core. And you know what happens if you don't catch it? It lands. There's no grass here. It won't pop. See? Just wanted to prove it. Okay, now what I want you to do is I'm going to spot you right now, but I'm going to hit it. You're going to get up and catch it, okay? Okay, now have a seat. So now that's a get up and go type of a movement. Go ahead, do it again. Feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah.
Is it because I'm standing here? Because you know I'm not going to let you fall, right?
Well,
Just
yeah,
say yes.
Yes.
Okay, see? He trusts me. Now this is something you can do with somebody else, and now what I want you to do is react. So just look forward. When you hear it go, I want you to get up and catch it. Okay, now have a seat. Are you still smiling?
Yes.
He was a second ago. He wasn't looking at you guys. It's fun. It's a balloon. What do we relate balloons to? Being a child having a birthday party. So I know, is it your birthday?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. He almost said yes, you see? Okay, this is fun. All the stuff that I have up here, the most important thing is wanting to do it and being able to do it and realizing that you can do it. So catch it. There you go. So you did a partial squat. Now see, now your abilities are growing. There you go. Stand all the way up now. Okay, so now have a seat. I just wanted to see if you could do 12 squats. I was counting. Any of you counting? I wasn't. I don't know if it was 12, was it? So the biggest progression that I do with the balloon before I get to moving to a medicine ball or a bouncy ball. Bouncy balls cost $1 at Walmart or something. Balloons go to the dollar store. You know how much they cost there? No, they're 12 cents because there's 12 of them. No, actually, bad at math. But okay, so this is what I want you to do. With a balloon, the next thing that I would have someone do, if they're able to, well, is do it from here. So now hit the balloon. Just hit the balloon, and now hit it again. So to get up from there. So then that's another. You don't have to get up. And then, go ahead, hit it. Now, then I'd have people to work with another leg if they can get up off the other leg and stand up. And then the last one would be, go ahead and hit it. Okay, I got to do it and catch it. Okay, see? But then you do something like that with a ball where you throw it, you catch it, you pick it up, so you're doing get up and goes, standing up off the ground. Thank you so much for helping. There's so much things that you can do with things around your house. You'd be surprised. Just a chair in itself. Working your core, this is basically a push-up, right? My body's straight. If I wasn't using these muscles, I'd fall in. You can do a push-up. If you do it with one arm, now you're doing basically rotational movements. Single-legged squats, holding on, something along those lines. Anything can be used for exercise. You got that? I mean, a cup of water, if you got water and you're drinking water. I'm looking around, at least I got someone drinking water. You really want to do a little bit more every day, just a little bit. This much more. This much more goes a long way. Because without that, you're taking that much of a step back. You got that? You want to be moving forward, doing more, identifying your abilities. And if you can't do something, don't. Do something else. I'm going to close out my talk about donuts, of all things. Okay? I don't eat donuts. How many people in here do? Put your hands down. How many of you have ever passed on a donut because you were pissed off about the hole in the middle? Right? So take a donut and think of that as your life. You want to enjoy life. If you're going to have a donut, enjoy it. Don't worry about the hole in the middle, right? I don't think there's ever been a person that's that OCD to pass on a donut because there's a missing piece in the middle. The donut represents all the stuff you can do, and the hole in the middle represents the things you can't do. Don't worry about what you can't do. Keep doing what you can. You'll get a little bit more out of life, and that little bit will add up and add up and add up, and you're left with a lot. So the person next to you will have a more enjoyable time. They'll be happy. I guarantee you they'll be happy you're doing more. They have more to do with you, and you're a participant. So thank you guys so much. Any questions?
Could you please show me that step out, the lunge step out for the hip flexor again? The one that I was sitting there and you were doing it, so I couldn't write down.
This?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you holding on to something. So just imagine if you have the ability to do this without a chair or without a door there, you can do it without it. But I want everybody to see that if you're able to stand on your feet and you're able to move out, back in, out, back in. It's like a dance. And back in. The opposite of that would be the pivot, moving, internally rotating your hips.
And if you were using a TheraBand, like around a doorknob, how would you do that?
Well, if you have a TheraBand around a doorknob, you can do it internal. Well, you can, if you tied it around and you want to do an external rotation, you can pull the band out, or you can even do a turn. Now you're working your core, your obliques, all in here, and you're working your internal rotators, your hips.
Do you happen to have like a handout or somewhere you can refer us to maybe go back and look at some of those things? I'm sure a lot of people...
This whole thing is going to be on video, and I've got several other videos that we've put together over the years on MS Views and News Learning channel on YouTube. So you go on YouTube's MS Views and News Learning channel, and I've got videos where I show a lot of the stuff that I just did, and what we're doing in here right now will be put up there as soon as it's edited.
Hello. I would like to know where you get those furniture movers.
Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's. I'm not from the area, but I think you got those stores, right?
Okay, yes.
Okay,
all
so
right.
they have them. They're just called furniture movers, sliders. You're welcome.
Do you map out those movement patterns, like, you know, the hips and the lats or whatever? Is there like a whole list of what those movement patterns are?
Yes. I don't have them. I don't have a video. There are videos of them, but I'm planning on doing that in the future with Stuart. We're going to put something together where I'm going to show all the stuff I did, and I can break it down into some different, you know, the body only moves in certain ways. Anything more than that means go to the orthopedist. So it's important to know what your body should and shouldn't be able to do movement-wise. And there's a lot of kinesiology sites that you can go and look at. So if you look up kinesiology or functional movements, you can find it online. But I'm planning on putting something together where you'll be able to see it online, and we'll do everything like we're just doing here. Any other questions?
I don't believe so. No more. No more. Thank you, everybody, and thanks, Jeff.